Okay, so let's start with hemiplegic gait. So what are the problems of hemiplegia? There is spasticity. We've done voluntary control assessment and we've done muscle strength assessment last year, right? So now when you see hemiplegic patients, you will know that there is spasticity in lower limbs, and usually it is in extensors. So whenever there is going to be spasticity in extensor, what happens? Doing opposite action, that is doing flexion at different joints of lower limb, that is at your hip, knee and at ankle, doing dorsiflexion becomes difficult. We should know that. Because of these muscles being spastic, that is extensors being spastic, sometimes the muscles in the opposite direction, that is again hip flexors, knee flexors and dorsiflexors might have difficulty in performing the action. What I mean by that is, when you have your patient lying down, maybe patient is able to do these activities. He might be doing it in some synergy, but he is able to do it. But once we get our patient to stand, what happens is, because of gravity, if at all there is spasticity, the spasticity might increase, and therefore then these antagonist muscles have more problem in working on these joints in the opposite direction, and that's what aggravates the problem even further. Okay, so let's see what happens. That's what I have said. These deviations are seen due to tonal changes and various muscle weakness. Now, because of extensive spasticity of lower limb muscles, which is commonly seen, we talked about it like last time when we did voluntary control and synergy. Usually in upper limb we see flexor synergy the most, and in lower limb the extensor synergy the most. So there is difficulty in taking or initiating steps because hip extensors are spastic, so hip flexion is restricted, knee flexion is restricted, and at ankle there is plantar flexion because of spasticity in plantar flexor. So dorsiflexion also is affected. So now imagine all these flexion movements help us to do what? They help us to shorten the limb, correct? They help us to get our limb shortened. Because of flexion, the limb length, it's not true shortening, but it's what we call it as apparent. Because of hip flexion, the length of the leg, because of the knee flexion similarly, and because of dorsiflexion, we can shorten our limb length, which is not possible now in hemiplegic people because of spasticity in extensors of lower limb. And therefore what happens is, clearing the leg from the ground becomes difficult. So there is apparent lengthening, we say. Next is scissoring is seen due to hip adductor spasticity, and patients tend to walk with absent heel strike. Yeah, let me just see. 1 minute. I will try and show you. I don't know, but let's. Can you all see me? I don't know if I can see, if you can see my leg. I have to arrange the, I will go far. Now can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So in hemiplegic, therefore, as I said, all the extensors are spastic, and therefore flexing and taking the step becomes difficult. So the typical abnormal or pathological gait in hemiplegics is they will do hip hiking, because flexion cannot take place, because extensors are spastic and therefore hip flexors relatively become weak, or they cannot overcome this spasticity. So they either do hiking, they will just do hiking, or they can actually do circumduction. Knee is also not able to bend because of quadriceps spasticity, and you cannot see, 1 minute,